All right, everybody, welcome back to Super Stock Bros. I'm Bub.
And I'm Ace.
And I'm Shankster.
Shankster's our guest today. He's going to talk to us all about predictions. We're not financial advisors. We're just bros talking about stocks. Get ready for an awesome segment with the backstory, international expansion of Airbnb, and predictions for the future. You don't want to miss this one. All right. All right, let's talk about the backstory and founders. Shankster, you're new to the show, and you come with a lot of information. I'm looking forward to hearing from you on this. So, backstory and founders. So, what's so interesting about the backstory of Airbnb? You got your hands on the first presentation they ever did in their life. So, what's that about, and what's going on? Why are these guys interesting?
Yeah, I mean, besides the fact, a lot of startup comes up and go, but I think when I found these guys, I thought it was really interesting. I saw their initial pitch deck to the founders asking for money about this company, and I saw the deck and I was like, this is the shittiest presentation I've ever seen. But okay. Which is funny, I read a little bit more about it, and it turns out that everybody didn't believe in their ideas at all. Like they hated it. They said like this will never be even profitable. But they love the founders. They said these founders, whatever they do, we're in. And I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, they're like young university graduates, not even, and they would convince billionaires to give them money. I was like, they got something. So that's what I kind of draw me into it.
Right? Like 2008.
Yes, that's right.
Time? Yeah, okay.
That's right.
So, Ace, what do you know about these guys, the backstory and the founders?
Yeah, so actually, very similar understanding of what happened there. So I actually read up a bit on it because I'm very interested in like Y Combinator and all stuff like that. So they were on the verge of bankruptcy, and then they ran into, it was a chance meeting apparently, into the CEO of Y Combinator. And he said, hey, sounds like you guys have a good idea. How about we give you $20,000 worth of seed funding, and we'll mentor you, and you can get like a pitch ready for investors that we have. And the investors that Shankster was talking about was actually Sequoia. Sequoia is one of the biggest investor group in the world, and they gave them $600K just because of the founders. Like Shankster said, they just love the founders.
Okay. Looks like these guys are a magnet for money, so don't have to worry about your investment. If you're going to Airbnb, looks like they can find plenty of investors. Seems like. So how are they doing like internationally? If they started in the States, how are they doing across the world? Because, in a pandemic, you would imagine they did take a hit on the international sales, but are they planning to expand again once this pandemic's over?
So, I mean, that's an interesting question. I'd actually love to hear from Shankster on that, but I do have a PDF that I can share quickly here if we want to do it on the screen. So this is the 2018 growth chart. This is actually an Airbnb kind of a document basically outlining their surge in emerging markets. So as you can see, you're already seeing pretty massive growth in both India and China. The growth in the listings is already at 106%. That was back in 2018. So I'm very curious to see how it is now. Would love to take a look at those numbers, but I think Shankster was mentioning that he has been hearing a few things in China, especially. So, what have you been hearing, Shankster?
Yeah, I know. Actually, a friend of mine, he worked for Airbnb, and he actually was develop essentially the app and also the expansion plan in China. So in Beijing, the capital of China, that's where the majority of the offices, and they're expanding quite a lot in China. You can imagine massive country, huge tourism, and very, very competitive there. I have to say, my personal experience in international experience or other markets, that I never tried Airbnb until I went to Europe, and my God, that's a great experience. I don't think I would do Europe again. Especially with friends, you can rent a whole room, and it's such a unique place that you can never even find in hotels or things like that. Hands down, that was by default. And I know they I think Ali, you and I, we stayed at a hotel in Barcelona, and I remember the owner wasn't even own the place, but the people renting the place was making enough living, renting their rooms and renovating the rooms, that he doesn't even work. He just does Airbnb, which is incredible story, and such a journey was to live there and to share that with them.
I mean, I'm not sure about the rules about being a renter and renting your space, but as long as you're paying the rent, I guess, and taking care of the place, because you're taking your name's on the Airbnb as a liable person, right? So I'm sure the rules have changed since then. That was back in 2016, but I remember when I was booking internationally in South America and Europe that staying in a hotel was significantly pricier. I didn't plan to stay in the hotel and do anything in the hotel. I'm paying for all these extra charges like the room fee and all that stuff. The gym and the pool. I don't use any of that. I just need to play. I need a bed and a shower, and then I was out to explore, right? Like if you're an Airbnb or internationally, you're probably just hopping from place to place because you're just trying to enjoy as much as of the country or city that you're in. You're not there for a long time, right? You're just there for a good time. So that's why I found these hotels to be a little antiquated, right? You got to share an elevator with a bunch of strangers. You don't know who you're next to in the next room. Whereas an Airbnb, it's like you're getting a place at someone's house. Maybe they may not even be in the house; they just own an extra house and they're renting it out. So there was a few times that happened. So internationally, I did see the numbers, and they are obviously down in 2020, but domestic travel's up. So now imagine when COVID is gone, people have now explored their own country and they're ready to explore other countries. And these countries are expanding like crazy. So internationally, Airbnb is going to be a monster. It's going to take over the hotel industry there. Like, major growth. So then what do you got to say on that, Ace?
So yeah, actually, I mean, I totally agree. I have a couple of experiences, both home and abroad. So, I mean, I traveled in South America, and at first we stayed at some grungy motel or whatever, and it kind of ruined the experience. When you're traveling, you want to do everything big, right? Like, I mean, unless you're trying to do some cheap travels and just backpack around the world or whatever. But the thing is, we immediately upgraded to an Airbnb that had like a pool, and we were like the coolest kids on the block type of thing. So, I mean, that made the experience so much better. It literally made the trip. If we didn't do that, it would have been garbage. At home, literally rental prices pretty much doubled over 10 years, primarily because of Airbnb. I mean, it's just crazy how much the rental prices went up. I mean, as soon as the pandemic hit, rental prices immediately decreased by 30%. And that's because most people weren't using Airbnb, although that's picking up again. But I mean, that just goes to show you how much in demand it is and how much of an effect it has on the community, basically.
It does have a major effect. Yeah, you're right, on the economy. So do we then have predictions? Shankster, you were talking to me before the show about some interesting predictions about people not even owning their homes. Like, what were you saying there?
Yeah, I think, and quote, we will watch this video again maybe 10, 20 years from now, but I'm going to tell you, this is inevitable. This is not a prediction. This is for sure what happened. If you look at what is the entire human population's moving towards, we're being more, have this gig sort of economy, and also a more of a shared space that we're living. I mean, sure, before everyone owned a piece of land and you live in the suburbs, and now we're living condos in cities and we're sharing, right? But that's not sharing yet. I think Airbnb is creating a platform where I think in the future, I don't think anyone will be owning homes and sharing all the expenses. Even if you look at how often we actually spend time in our own home, very small portion of that goes toward it. How do you share that space with the entire economy and the world around you is totally up to us. And I think this is the beginning, beginning of a platform and the whole concept of living space that we will change through this app. And that's why I believe very much about the starting point of Airbnb. And I think in the future, we're going to see a lot more people that will not own or co-own homes and through this similar platform. But yeah, I really see that as the future there.
Ace, what do you got to say about that?
I mean, it's pretty funny. If you think back to even 1990, you heard about stuff like timeshare. I mean, think about it. That was basically Airbnb before things were even established. And if you take that even a step further, like 10 years after that, remote work, because of the internet getting more advanced and technology getting more advanced, remote work became a thing where people would actually do remote work and just travel around country to country, and it's just a totally normal thing. And now after the pandemic, guess what? More people are not only awakened to this, the infrastructure is pretty much there was a catalyst for the infrastructure to get up to speed so that people could work remotely. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Airbnb and working in different countries just to have a good life, enjoy life a little bit more.
Well, wouldn't you, back to Shankster's point, what are you saying? Like, then people are not going to own homes? I thought you want to own a home, make money off it, own several homes and make them all Airbnbs. Isn't that what you were trying to say? I'm just trying to hone in on what you were trying to get your point across there.
Yeah, I think we're seeing at a point where traditional asset ownership is still home, right? Like a piece of land. Oh, you have a land, therefore you have wealth. Or you're going to grow your wealth. You're going to grow crops on your land. You're going to grow. I think that whole concept is slowly dying, and not dying because that concept doesn't work anymore, but because there's abundance of resources. Like, in many ways, we don't need to build more condos. We don't need to build more suburbs. We don't need more office buildings. We have enough people in the world and enough spaces already. But the distribution and the usage of these homes are not optimized. And I think Airbnb will open that gateway in the future where, like, I mean, there are literally people that have multiple homes that none of them they're just laying out there. No one's using it. Right. And they don't even know how to
turn them into Airbnbs. So
yes, exactly. Right. And if you, as a young person, would you choose to spend millions of dollars investing on a potential home that you need to maintain and hopefully grow up in value, or do you invest in something else, perhaps Airbnb in itself, and then just live on whatever cheap rent or rental that you can live off of, or even investing with other people to have an Airbnb where you guys will share, maybe timeshare a few months of the year with friends and family, and then split that cost with the people and for the rest of the remaining year through Airbnb. So that's what I mean by, like, I think there will be still a turning point between completely not owning any homes to owning maybe a portion of the homes per se.
Yeah. Well, what about Ace? What about those condos they were building that were Airbnb only before the pandemic hit? Like, there were a bunch of them going up, and then all of a sudden they all went bust, obviously, because
yeah, I mean, a lot of people bought investment homes just to rent them out, like literally, and you would have full-blown condo buildings devoted to Airbnbs because they were expecting 50% more than the monthly rent that they would have achieved through a regular tenant. Right. So yeah, I mean, that was they were hit pretty hard. But the thing is, these people, you can see how much they believe in the concept of Airbnb. Their whole business strategy, their investment strategy is relying on this one company. So, I mean, there you go. What do you think about that, Bub?
Well, if you're going to, have the luxury of purchasing many homes, you're not traditionally, yeah, you would have rented it out to somebody. But if you can, depending on the economy you live in, if you can make more on renting it to an Airbnb, or you could probably make that amount of rent in like a weekend. Yes. So that's where we were going before the pandemic hit, and I'm curious to see if we get back there. That's why when this stock goes IPOs, I don't know if it's going to be valued at what it should be, or it's going to be valued at a price where you get in now, and in like by 2030 you could retire, depending on if you dollar cost average in. What's your take on that, Shankster?
I think right now Airbnb is obviously undervalued due to the pandemic itself, and also because this year, for those folks who might not know, but they have invested quite heavily in marketing and foundation technology growth this year. So the revenue and the sales you might see is now reflecting their true potential. And also, I think the people who are looking at Airbnb is the similar view of lens that they look at Hilton and Marriott in the 60s and 70s. They're only thinking like these are hotels, but this is not a hotel. this is fundamentally changing how humans live around the world. And that is why I think it has a lot more than just a market cap we see today, and it will grow to something that we don't even understand yet. So
yeah, if you're an investor or you're a host or you're someone that's going to rent an Airbnb, just, you and your family, like a house instead of a hotel, I think you'll have a pretty nice time. It's going to be a nice time. But you don't want to, it's going to be a disruptor. It's definitely going to be a disruptor. Like, I could see a lot of hotels close across continents. Only the best will survive. There'll be special purpose. For example, BlackBerry used to sell phones. They used to sell hardware assets. Now they only do security, and they do security with only a few companies, a few institutions. So I feel like hotels may become the dinosaurs of, like, they don't care about guests. Maybe they only cater to big parties. Like, you rent an entire hotel for like your wedding party or something, or like a conference.
Yes.
You can't do an Airbnb at a conference, correct? So they may only have their market share may just, go down to nothing. Basically, they lose it all to Airbnb, because Airbnb is like, I'll take care of you guys. You see Airbnb hotels and such, but that's my prediction there. I feel like they have plenty of market share to eat up, and the Hilton and all these large hotel chains across the world, they're gonna lose their market share, man. I feel like the pandemic really put in perspective for them, because people still chose Airbnb to stay at domestically than a hotel.
Yeah. I would say, if I may add, one thing is changing during the pandemic is that people are looking not for central downtown locations where mostly hotels are at for stay vacations. They're going to remote areas where they just want to escape, even if they live in the city, right? Like, they just want to go somewhere else, and there's no hotels there. It's only Airbnb, right?
Right.
And then and then the other thing is, I think Airbnb, it's not just about, and they make this very clear in their website today, and the experience is that it's not about just living there, sleeping there. It's the whole experience. You're there, right? So the whole traveling experience, the concierge, whether it's we go to a hostel because we want to party with the people and do fun things with the group, and that's something Airbnb is offering, as opposed to just a room service that hotel offers, so something like that you just can't replace, and they're exploring that. So that's a market share no one has really even captured yet. So
yeah, they do say that they sell you the experience. So damn, we're not financial advisors, we're just stock bros giving stock bros tips. So just remember, subscribe, like, share this video. I think we did an awesome job today summarizing some of our predictions, and I think that's about it, boys. Anything else you want to add, bros? Or we good? We Gucci?
We're good.
We're Gucci.
I'm gonna load up.
You're gonna load up?
Just catching it up right now.
That's right.
You're gonna send him on my account.
You're just gonna dive in, or you're gonna put it in.
That's what I'm doing.
That's
what I'm doing.
All right, bros. Peace out.
Peace out, bros.
Hey everybody, welcome to Stock Bros, Super Stock Bros, that is. I'm Ace.
And I'm... Wait.
Oh, wait. You're right. I'll edit this out. Okay, I'm out.
I was like, wait a minute, who am I?
Wait, you're Ace.
Put that in.
But I'm Ace.
All right, I'm going to cut out the first 30 seconds.